Hey, it's Allie Edwards and welcome to day 3 at December Daily. Here I am sharing kind of what I am planning on doing for day 3. One of the things that has been going through my mind over and over again is the mantra of embrace the mess. And around here we have major construction happening. We had Aaron and his children move in earlier this summer, and then we needed to do construction before we could put all the stuff away. So we've been living in a state of boxes and a lot of extra stuff in the house. And I feel like I've been doing awesome with it for quite a while, but it's starting to catch up with me a little bit now, especially as we move into the holiday and a time when I want to bring out more stuff. And in our house right now, there's really nowhere else to bring out more stuff. So I'm struggling a little bit with that right now. And so I wanted to have my story today reflect that, partly because I just want to get it out of the way. Like, I want to say it out loud. I want it to go into my book, and then I want to move forward on it. So I had an idea, which was I was working in Photoshop, and I did include this Embrace the Mess word art for you if you are also in a place of embracing the mess, and your mess may not be a physical space mess like mine is at this time. I've definitely also had other kinds of messes, and I know for a lot of people this time of the year there can be a lot of emotional mess too, and fighting against it, banging our heads against the wall. Sometimes embracing it is really the best path forward. So I thought about that in both contexts, but I do have this as a download, the word art, available for you in my blog post today if you are wanting to use that as one of your stories in your album or for something else this year as well. So the idea I had was, I got a couple things going on. One is I'm working with the back of the photo of Simon from day 2, and then I'm working with the page protector that I have in here from my foundation pages. What I am planning to do with this is simply put it on my trimmer and cut it off. So the number 3 will be in here. I think I'll probably staple it just to keep it in place, and it'll come up out of the top. I think that'll be fine. And then I'm going to leave the 'Tis the Season messy circle in there and just have that be kind of the embellishments to go along with this very, very specific design on this page. The idea here is that I'm going to have this be the background. So this will be adhered down first. And then what I want to try to do is place this design on top and cut it out so that it's a flap, so that you would lift up the flap to reveal this journaling inside. So that is my initial plan. I haven't tested it out yet, whether or not it's going to work, but that, as I was sitting there on the computer, and at first I had, the word art at the top with the text down below, which would have been totally fine, but I was trying to think of, what is some other interactive sort of element or something that I can do when I'm already working outside of the page protector. So that is my starting place. Like I said, the first thing for me in this process is to find my trimmer, and then I am going to cut that divided page protector just to make that smaller, and I'll go ahead and do that right now, and then I will start working on the background or figuring out how I'm going to do the other part with the flap. In the past I've had some cute little flap things that would hold down a flap, so I'm going to see if I can locate those as well. So cutting page protectors with your trimmer is really easy. I just lay them down on there and make sure that the seam is not getting cut. These, obviously you could try to use them for something else, but they're pockets they're not intact pockets anymore. But now we have a cute 3x8 2-pocket page protector there that is going to hold this portion of the content for today, or this part of the story. So like I said, next thing then is going to be working on the back of here, and I'm guessing, in my mind, what I think makes the most sense is that I'm going to adhere the story itself onto the background here, and then from there I'm going to take this and I'm going to measure the width here, and then I'm going to cut so it's a flap that will flip up. So I'm going to record myself while I'm doing that, and then I'll do a voiceover on top to kind of explain my process. All right, so basically my first step here was to just adhere the journaling part, the first sheet, which was printed on matte Epson presentation paper, adhere that to the back of the photo, and then I just trimmed off. I didn't want to trim it first. I wanted to make sure it was the same exact size as the photo, so that was why I went with that option. And you'll see I kind of decided to do that here as well to make sure that, when you're trimming these, they can kind of come out in any number of ways where they don't end up being pretty exact. So that was helpful to just use the previous day's photo as the guide. Then I just kind of figured out, okay, how far in do I want this to be? And it ended up that for my flap, it was about 2 inches in on either side. So I marked using my ruler 2 inches in from the left side and 2 inches in from the right side, and then about a ½ inch or so up from the bottom. That was able to give me it ended up being just the right amount of a flap based on what, the journaling that I had already printed out there. So I drew lines, and then I used an X-Acto knife to just go ahead and cut that out. Remember, I'm just cutting out 3 sides of it because I only want to have 3 sides because I want it to flap up. And yes, I am cutting right into my table. I need to get a new cutting mat, but it's worked out okay so far. So there you can see one of the things that happened is I needed I used a bone folder to create a better use of the flap there because the photo paper was hard to get to create that fold. So that ended up working just fine. And if you don't have a bone folder, you could find, just some other kind of hard-edged thing to be able to create that, or you can just force it yourself. So one of the things that just happened right there was as I was working on it, I ended up putting the glossy side of the photo paper down on the adhesive that I had done on the journaling part. So I actually ended up having to go in and reprint and do the whole thing. So embracing that mess as well. But I ended up just, like I said, I just followed the exact same steps that I did the first time and was able to recreate it again with the same measurements and everything, just reprinted it. I also went ahead and used the tiny attacher to staple that number 3 in there. That number 3 is from a past Studio Calico monthly kit. I added an Avery index tab along the edge there. That's one of my continuing favorite things to do. And then one of the stamps on the Christmas Phrases stamp set is something about embracing the season is also, the reality of the season is what it says on there. So I went ahead and slipped that in there. I'm going to change my mind about that in a minute. You will see here and make an adjustment to that. But that fit with my overall story as well. I ended up grabbing some of the pattern paper from the main December Daily Kit this year and adhering that onto the background of the flap, so or the inside of the flap. I just used scissors to cut around the edge there. You could totally use, an X-Acto knife again or lay it on your trimmer. This worked fine. I cut a little bit more off the edge there just to try to keep the white to a minimum, but I liked having a little bit of a pattern underneath there. Then I was kind of considering, what are the things that I want to do, and I looked a little bit for this old metal turning thing, and I couldn't find any of those. So I decided to just put another Avery index tab along the bottom, which is a great, easy thing to grab onto to flip up. And I moved that the reality of the season over to this page or this side of the page. And I tore it in half and made it so that when you lift it up, you see the reality of the season is what you see on the top. Facing the right way, essentially, is what I'm trying to say. And then I added an old gold star that I had in my stash, chipboard gold star, just onto the top there. And then looked for another sentiment to add on to the other Avery index tab on the other side, and ended up just putting here's the story or today's story or something like that, and then doing one that had the date with the rolling date stamp, so that on the side facing the album right now would be this date, and then today's story would be on the next day. So that's a look at my day 3.